Hello students, I am from KL Society's BCA College Nipani. So in the previous sessions we discussed on the requirement based testing. Now when we want to take in an account of the requirement based testing, we need to consider some of the testing activity, and that testing activities we are going to discuss in this session. So these testing activities are purely considered for the requirement based testing. So when we want to focus on the requirement based testing, what we needed to consider over here, the requirements are complete, consistent, unambiguous and logically connected with each other. When we want to ensure so all these types of requirements are present within a software development process, it should be get fully implemented within the software development specification. Here the aim of the requirement based testing is nothing but the error prevention than the error detecting the errors. Okay, so main aim of this is nothing but this. So for this, what are the testing activities are there? Here are the testing activities: define the test complete criteria, design the test cases, build the test cases, execute the test cases, verify the result, verify the test coverage, and manage the test library. So what are that? See, consider over here. Now designing the test cases. Now designing the test cases, or first is what? Define the test completion criteria. Now the testing should be defined in a quantifiable terms, and the goal is to consider to be achieved only when the test coverage is 100%, which means that define the test completion criteria. How you are going to consider that the test complete criteria is there? When the test coverage is 100% over there, when we are getting 100% of a result. Now what it means that whenever we are actually getting the expected output as per the customer's requirement, then we are going to consider that the defining the test completion criteria. Here the testing should be defined in a quantifiable term. Quantifiable means what? A measurable, not a qualifiable. Quantifiable term. The goal is to be considered to be achieved only when the test coverage is 100% over here. 100% means what? A fully. Okay, this is the first thing. Now the second activity, design the test cases. Now design the test cases means what? The test cases must be in accordance with the requirement specification. Now whatever may be the test cases we are going to generate for testing that particular software or application, it should be made as per the requirement specification. So that is nothing but designing the test cases. How we are going to design the test cases? It should be get as per the requirement specifications of the customers. Now next is what? Building the test cases. Now join here in the building the test cases or build the test cases, we need to consider that the logical. Here we are going to join the logical parts together to form or build the test cases. What we are going to join? We are going to join the logical part. Now why these logical parts are required? Now whenever we want to test the valid and invalid inputs of the particular requirement specification, here we need to consider the logical parts, and here we need to join that logical parts. Now whenever we are joining such a type of a logical parts, we can say that we are going to achieve the expectations of the user as per the requirement specification, and we can say that here we are going to detect the we are going to prevent the defects before it is going to be detected. Why we here? Because we are joining the logical parts. Okay, we are joining the logical parts of the test cases. Now when we are joining the logical parts of the test cases, that is nothing but we are building the test cases in such a way that here the tester is going to consider all the valid and invalid inputs. What the tester is going to consider? The tester is going to consider all the valid and invalid inputs over here. Now next is what? The executing the test cases. Now executing is what? Executing the results, evaluating the results. Now what is required over here? Why? Because the black box testing is actually nothing but what is the input given and what is the output should be get coming from that. Now when we are focusing that part, here we need to evaluate the results basically. So that is nothing but executing the test cases. We are executing the test cases as per the customer's requirement. Why? Because we are doing the requirement based testing, and this requirement based testing is going to be performed as per the customer's requirement. Now if it is going to be performed as per the customer's requirement, we can say that we are going to achieve the executions of the results or the evaluatings of the results as per the customer's requirement. So we covered the four. What is that? Defining the test completion criteria, designing the test cases, build the test cases, executing the test cases. I am again going to repeat that. What is defining the test completion criteria? The testing should be defined in a quantifiable terms. The goal is to consider to be achieved only when the test coverage is 100% over here. Designing the test cases means what? The test cases must be in accordance with the requirement specification. Building the test cases means what? Joining the logical parts together in a form to form or build the test cases. Executing means what? Evaluating the results. Evaluating the results means what? Evaluating the output. Now that output is totally based on the requirements that we have gathered from the customers. It is as per the customer's requirement. So that is the executing the test cases. Now the next is nothing but to verifying the test result. Now what it means that? Now it is nothing but checking whether the actual results deviates from the expected ones. Now what it means that verifying means what? Suppose if the user wants the result as 5, okay, now how this 5 should be get achieved? 2 plus 3, 4 plus 1 or 6 minus 1. In whatever the user way the user is going to use, we are going to get the result as 5. So verifying means what is the user what is the actual result is coming and what is the expected ones. What is the expected ones and what is actually coming from them. For suppose if the mistakenly user is going to perform over here as 3 plus 1. What is going to come over here? 4. So what is the actual coming? 4. And what is the expected ones? 5. So it is wrong. It is not as per the requirements of the customer. We can say that. So that is nothing but verifying the test result. Now next is what? Verifying the test coverage. Now verifying the test coverage means what? Check. It is nothing but checking for the functional test coverage. Now checking for the functional test coverage means what? That is nothing but actually the considering all the criteria which should be considered for the black box testing for that particular requirement specification. So that is nothing but the test coverage. 100%. We can say that we need to cover all and each and every aspects of the testing. Verifying the test coverage. Now next is what? Manage the last is nothing but manage the test library. Now what it means that managing the test library. Now managing the test library here it is nothing but the test manager is responsible for monitoring all the test cases. A test manager is responsible for monitoring all the test cases and this test cases execution. Now when that test cases is going to be executed, okay, the tests are processed. The test may be passed or failed, which means that whether we are going to get the result as per the requirements or we are not going to get the result as per the requirements, or the assertions it should be happen over there. Now whether